As you see, the designations is a drop-down, which contents must be loaded from the database. I mean, from the possessions or designations table. Now, I go back to my controller. As you see here, I have created a function, and this function is called each time you refresh the page. Also inside the services folder, I have created a new service called employee HTTP service, and I have used this service here inside my controller. Using this service, we are going to communicate with the server. Inside this service, first I declare a variable and set it to the address of the server page to which I need to send my HTTP requests. Registration is the name of this folder. Web_API is the name of this folder, and controllers is the name of this folder. And finally, employee is part of the URL. For the sake of security, I'm going to communicate with the server and send my HTTP requests via an htaccess file. I'm going to send my requests to the employee.php file being inside the controllers folder. So I need to create my .htaccess file inside the controllers folder. When the first segment after the name of the controllers folder is employee followed by a / and a string of only English alphabet letters, route the request to the employee.php file, which is inside the same folder as the current file is, and append a query string to the end with key as segment and value as a variable. Inside the employee.php file, first of all, I import the employee_model.php, which is inside the models folder. Since the URL has a query string, I need to use the $_get to get the value of the segment. Now, I create an object of the employee class defined inside the employee_model.php file imported above. Then, I call its getPossessions method and return its return value back to the client. Here, first of all, I create an object of the employee class, which is inside the employee_model.php. And this is exactly that class. Then its getPossessions method is called. If you look here, we see that there is a method called getPossessions inside the employee class. First of all, inside the body of this method, a connection to the database is created, and the connection to the database is created using this class. Then a query is created and executed. Then the result of the query is changed into a PHP array. If it said $possessions, which is an array, then return the JSON encoded format of the possessions array. Else, return null. Now I go to my service, and here I'm going to return an object. This object is going to have some properties. The first property is get, which is going to be a function. This function takes two parameters, which are a segment and a callback function. Inside the body of this function, first of all, an HTTP request is created using the $HTTP service of AngularJS. The method is get, and the URL is the concatenation of the address along with the value of the segment, which comes as a parameter to this function. Then the request is sent to the server, and when the response comes, the callback function is called along with the response, which comes from the server as a parameter. I need to remove this semicolon, save the changes, go to the employee.php file, copy this possessions string, and come to my controller. Here, I use the service that I have created. I call its get function and give it two parameters. The first parameter is the value of the segment, and the second parameter is a callback function. I want to alert the data which comes from the database. I save the changes, go to the browser, reload the contents. Now I see that there are 4 objects displayed inside the alert box. I close it and go back to my controller. This variable is set to the response.data. I mean the data which comes from the server. Save the changes, and I have an array of all the records of the possessions table. Now I go to my partial view and create my options. I mean the options of the drop-down. I use the ngOptions directive to create my options. Possession.id is going to be the value of its option. Possession.designation is going to be the text to be displayed to the user. Possession is an element of the possessions array, and this possessions is exactly used here. Now I save the changes, go back to the browser, reload the contents. I check the drop down. I see that there are 4 options added to this drop down.